Section 1. You will hear a conversation between Peter and Jim talking about some details for their shared accommodation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. You will see that there is an example which has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hey Jim, it's Peter.
Oh hey Peter, what's up?
I thought I'd call so we could hammer out the details for next year's lease.
Peter says that he wants to hammer out the details for next year's lease with Jim. So, lease has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hey Jim, it's Peter.
Oh hey Peter, what's up?
I thought I'd call so we could hammer out the details for next year's lease.
That's a good idea. Did we ever decide on how to split the total rent?
Well, I was thinking, since my room is bigger, I probably should pay a little more. So I could pay £110 and you could pay £80. Does that sound okay?
Considering that my old apartment cost me £100 for a smaller room, I'm definitely all right with that. Hey, I was looking at a map of the area and can't seem to find a bus stop near it. Do you know where we would catch the bus?
Well, the bus is actually pretty far from us, but we have that garage that we can park our cars in.
Wow, that's great. Convenient parking is hard to find, so we're lucky we have that. Okay, so we have a whole lot of things we'll need to buy when we move in. How do you want to split that up?
I was wondering, do you still work at the supermarket?
Yep, every Tuesday and Saturday.
Would you be able to buy things from there if I sent you a shopping list?
Sure, I can do that.
Great. Then I can take care of whatever else we need that you wouldn't get at a supermarket. If you want, I'll pick you up from work that day and we can go to the apartment together.
Oh, that would be great, thanks.
No problem. That way we can split the cost of petrol.
Works for me. It's so expensive these days, isn't it?
It's downright obscene.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
So let's figure out what appliances we need. Do we have a microwave?
Yes, the landlord's providing that for us. Hey, do you still have that space heater, though? We need one for the kitchen since it's not connected to the central heating.
All right, I'll bring that. Anything else?
Well, I have some dining room and living room furniture I can bring, so that should take care of most of the big stuff. You know what we do need, though? Could you bring a toaster?
I actually don't have one. It doesn't come with the microwave.
No, the landlord is only supplying the microwave. It would really help if you could bring one.
Okay, I'll pick one up at the store. You know, I also have this cool antique rotary phone that would be a cool addition to the apartment, sort of as decoration and utility.
Oh, cool. The only thing is, we'd have to put it in the kitchen unless you want it in your room.
Why not put it in the living room?
The living room's too loud to have a phone conversation. The noise sort of carries, so if one person is trying to watch TV or have friends over, the person on the phone won't be able to hear.
Okay, well I guess kitchen it is then. Any other big things we need? That seems like everything.
That's all I can think of. And of course, move-in is
June the 1st. I can't wait. We'll be able to watch the big game in our new apartment. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we can move in the morning, and then Friday night we can sit back and cheer on Liverpool.
I have an exam in the morning, but we'll be done around 11 a.m. and can move in after. Wait, Liverpool? You're joking, right? I thought you were a Manchester United fan.
Man U? No way. Liverpool all the way.
Oh no, I don't know if I can live with a Liverpool fan.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You'll hear an HR representative of Earn and Learn giving some information about her company. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Welcome to all of you. Can everybody see and hear me? Good. I'm Sarah Connor, an HR representative of Earn and Learn. I have been asked today to talk to you about our company. So, for those of you who don't know very much about the company, let me start by giving you some basic information about it. Earn and Learn started nearly 20 years ago. It is not a charity, but a for-profit company that enables promising entrepreneurs to make money while traveling. During the past 10 years, it has grown rapidly and has gained great influence in most countries of the world. We have a partnership with the school and take a large number of recent graduates from the business school. So, if you are a recent graduate, I'd say you can consider applying to our company. Before your application, you might be curious about what sort of places you could go to. There are 4 main locations, but you also have the freedom to submit a different location, and if they can make the necessary arrangements, you can go. The first country Earn and Learn established locations was the US, where you may choose from multiple locations, as long as you can commit to their more rigid schedule of August to December. Also, you could do the Australia internship. That one is really cool. You work at a wildlife shelter and learn about the business practices of non-profit organizations. You do have to be willing to commit 8 months for that one, though. Perhaps that's a long time to be so far away, but I would say it is really an amazing opportunity. I don't know whether some of you are in decent physical shape. If so, the South Africa internship is another exciting one. You learn a lot about sustainable farming, but you would be doing some of the manual labor involved in maintaining a farm. Indeed, it's hard work, but I think you would definitely be able to do it. It may be wise to wait until after their summer is over, so it's not so terribly hot. In addition, there is a most recently established location in India. This one gives you more of a study abroad feel, given that they arrange a host family for you to stay with. In the other locations, you live in an apartment with other interns, so this is definitely a unique experience.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Regardless of where you go, at the end of the program you get a global travelling certificate, as long as you can explain your experience. You can provide a written log of what you did. I recommend writing journal or blog entries about what you do every day, or a weekly summary of each day. Of course, you don't have to write up a formal report or anything like that, and you need to apply for it once you have returned. Some students may want to know whether this is a paid internship. Actually, you have to pay for the flight there yourself. But you have the opportunity to create your own small business, which could earn you money if it's successful. So basically, you pay for it all up front, but when you're there, you can find ways to make money. That is to say, you pay for 2/3 of the cost up front as a deposit, and then give the final installment 1 month prior to your return. Finally, I have to remind you that you need a health check before you go, to make sure you're not going to spread any communicable diseases. In addition, before you go, you don't have to attend any meetings or workshops. You'll meet everyone you'll be working with once you get there. Okay, well, that's all I've time for today. Thanks for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3.
Part 3. You will hear 2 students called Jen and Rob discussing a project they are about to start working on. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Rob. We need to look at this project we're doing together in forensic linguistics.
Sure. The first thing we have to do is define forensic linguistics. I thought we could say something like, linguistics involves the analysis of language, and forensic refers to using scientific techniques to solve crimes. So forensic linguistics involves analysing people's use of language to find out whether they've committed a crime. What do you think of that as a definition?
Sounds okay. I looked it up in my dictionary and I got something similar.
Then we can add something about what forensic linguists actually do to back it up. You know, like analysing documents to find out who wrote them.
Good point. Let's do that. What about the actual project? I'm glad we chose voice identification as the topic.
Yeah, we've been given a voice recording of a possible suspect. Not a real suspect, of course. So we've got to listen to the recording and analyse their voice. Should be okay?
Well, I've already listened to the recording, and I can't even tell if it's a man or a woman. But I guess that doesn't matter. The accent's a local one, though I'm not sure how that will affect anything. Where we're really going to get in trouble is that the recording is very unclear. I'm sure they've done that to test us.
Well, they weren't going to make it easy. We have to analyse the voice sample with that spectrograph instrument, don't we? Learning what to do with it is the only thing that really concerns me about this project.
It'll be fine.
I guess so. And then we have to interview the suspect and make our own recording face to face and decide if it's the same person as on the original recording, right?
Yes. It's not an exact science, but it's usually pretty accurate. You can often tell, even when they've got a cold, it's the same person, but they might do something like speaking with another accent because the tutor suggests they do that just to test us.
So let's get on with it then. Oh, and don't start your usual self-doubt about whether you can do the work or not. You usually do okay in the end. I reckon that as long as we focus on the main points of the assignment, we can think about the finer details later. My problem is creating things to worry about before I've even started.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
We'll have to do some background reading first. I'll go to the library later and get what we need.
OK. I've already looked at forensics today, and it didn't say much about voice identification, so we needn't bother with that one. Language and crime looks a bit more promising, doesn't it? I've got that out of the library already, so we don't need to worry about borrowing that.
Research methods in forensic linguistics. I guess we ought to borrow that. And voice identification will be a useful one. I'll borrow that from our classmate George. He won't need it for his project. But we should get out modern forensic techniques. We need all the help we can get on that subject.
OK, that's that sorted out. Now on to the practical stuff. I'm not sure about how we're going to record the voices. I'm not too good on the technical side of things.
Me neither. We'd better work out what we're doing. At least we get more than one opportunity to speak to the person playing the suspect. I just hope whoever it is won't make the task too tricky.
I'm sure they won't be too hard on us. And as long as we do our research properly, it shouldn't be too hard to do the rest of it. I'm more worried about fitting in the writing up.
I know. We've got loads of other assignments to finish as well. Now, Rob, let's decide how we're going to split the writing between us. Are you any good at introductions? They always seem to let me down.
OK, leave that to me. Are you OK to do the literature review then?
Maybe we should split that part. I don't mind writing the methodology section if you feel comfortable doing the discussion and conclusions.
OK. And we can do the analysis between us as well. Great. Let's get started.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
Today, we'll continue that discussion by looking at dormancy. First, we'll cover what dormancy is and why organisms become dormant. Dormancy is a state of inactivity that organisms or living things enter when they need to conserve the resources available to them and reduce their demands on their environment. Most major groups of plants and animals have some representatives that can become dormant. What is the value of dormancy? To start with, animals can become one and survive conditions that are stressful in environmental terms. For instance, when lakes, ponds, or rivers dry up, aquatic organisms that can enter dormancy can survive the drought, while others who cannot do this will die. Another advantage is that creatures that can become dormant in inhospitable conditions, such as extreme cold, can live in a larger range of places than other organisms. Because they can live where other animals can survive when they are active and looking for food, the amount of competition they have to deal with from other regions is greatly reduced. Let's move on to look at what causes dormancy. There are a number of variables, but the ones that are the most significant are temperature changes and the amount of light organisms get. Availability of food, water, and oxygen is also very important. Now, we'll explore some specific examples. Let us first look at dormancy in insects. Insects can experience a reduced metabolism, a form of dormancy called diapause in insects. Diapause is either a reaction to difficult environmental conditions or an unnecessary part of the life cycle, such as with butterflies or certain months. In terms of environment, it's interesting to know that through dormancy, insects can survive when it's very cold. Another creature we'll look at is fish. Fish share the same main environmental causes for dormancy as other creatures. But as one might imagine, they are particularly sensitive to drought. For example, long African fish burrow deep into the mud with low water supply. It surrounds itself with a cocoon and remains inactive. While dormant faces two dangers. One is the possibility of starvation, which relies on the fat stored in his body to overcome this. The other is desiccation or drying up, which is addressed through a reduction in urine production. Snails are also known to become dormant. Some snails seal off their shell, the membrane of dried mucus, after settling at their place of dormancy. Other snails do not have this possibility. They trust the protection of their shell. So when snails have remained outside in their dormancy, they can usually be recognized by a brightly colored shell reflecting the sunlight, and so minimizing evaporation. That is why banded snails usually have young shells in open habitats. Hibernation is probably the most well-known type of dormancy, which occurs in warm-blooded creatures during the winter. We know that warm-blooded animals maintain a regular body temperature. What's really interesting about hibernates is that they can adapt to extreme conditions by turning off their internal thermostats and hibernating until conditions improve. Let's examine the behavior of a true hibernate, the Arctic ground squirrel. This squirrel digs underground and builds a nest that is insulated. Once in its nest, it curls into a bowl and tucks in its arms, legs, and tape. Its body temperature mirrors the cold of its surroundings. At this point, this squirrel barely breathes and doesn't react to stimulants in a normal way. And during this hibernation period, the squirrel loses nearly 40% of its weight. The process of awakening for the Arctic ground squirrel takes about 3 hours. When this happens, there is a rapid rise in the heartbeat and circulation is effective. The area around the heart warms faster than the rest of the animal. And despite the strain of hibernation, the squirrel's body processes are normal within 24 hours of coming out.